Okay, so we are back for another play session of Blade Runner in solo mode. Last time, my character Love was tasked to find out or track whoever was stealing Wallace lab samples. And if possible, even get those stolen lab samples. And the primary suspect right now matches the physical profile of her ex-lover. The trail started at LAX, where I scrubbed some security logs, traced a shifting hair technology to a clinic in DNA Row, and then I followed a sort of invitation to the snake pit in Sector 1. And after a alleyway shootout with 3 thugs, I realized these were counterfeit clues. Some of the clues that were coming my way were fabricated. The thugs claimed a red-headed woman sent them, but Love's tech log showed the suspect had transitioned to brunette, so something is off here. So the current situation, Love has successfully cornered a decoy. Looks to be a young girl. She's wearing a holographic red hair rig, and we are in a private room at the back of the club. The one thing that I forgot to mention in the last session is that she was wearing a live transmitter on this girl's collar. There's a little audio transmitter there. And we have Harley is still at the bar just outside. So we gotta be careful, we gotta be quick. And so that's where we find ourselves now. Now, Love, I stand over the girl, still have my PKD pistol in my hand. I see the tiny transmitter on the girl's collar. It's kind of pulsing faintly. Outside the door, we can still hear the thrum of the club. People walking up and down the corridor. So, what can we do? We could speak into it. We could destroy it. Let the girl go and trace where she goes. I'm gonna ask the girl some questions, of course. So, first question. Who are you? What's your name? And don't lie to me. Now, I know someone's listening in, but I'm still gonna ask. I'm gonna ask her name. I give her some traits. So she's a street urchin. Her name is Cass De Silva. But I am gonna ask who sent you, who's paying you. Now, that is more open-ended, and I am going to roll on that table. So it's a question check. So I'm going to use the cipher tables. They can give a more like interpretive answer, so let's do that. First, I'm going to roll a d6. It's a 3. And then I'm going to roll 2 d12s. Okay, so that is a 10 and 2. Or 2 and 10. So that is deceive memory. Okay, so I got deceive and memory, and it suggests that she isn't just lying, that maybe she's been fed a false memory or a scripted narrative designed to mislead me. The girl's name is Cass, and she's trembling a little bit. She backs up against the padded wall of the booth, and her eyes are wide, and the red holographic flicker of the hair is starting to fail. And she says, her name was Elena. She told me she was an old friend of yours. She gave me the jacket and this light rig, and she said if I sat here and looked like her, I would be helping a sister get free. And she looks confused, like she doesn't understand what that means. So there's the mention of memory. She describes Elena. It does, small mannerism phrases that only the ex-lover would know. So this is the deception, maybe. Whoever the suspect, they're using my own key memories against me. Okay, so I'm gonna do an insight roll. I'm gonna try to look past the trembling girls. I'm gonna search for the truth behind this whole Elena script. So I'm gonna roll insight. I'm trying to determine if Cass has actually saw the real Elena, or if the person who hired her was just someone using the ex-lover's identity as a front, which is possible. So, transmitter is still live, so every word Cass says is being heard by whoever's on the other end. Okay. So let's roll insight. Let's see how it goes. Oh, what? Oh my. That's 3 successes. Oh my god. That is, I feel like that's more than a critical success. Okay, so 3 successes. Critical success. So it's going to point me to the next obvious action, scene, or location, of course. So I'm just deconstructing this entire conversation. So Cass speaks of this person called Elena. I could see the way her pupils don't dilate and the slight unnatural pause before she says specific nicknames. I realize Cass never met the real Elena, quotation marks, whoever this is. The person who hired her, of course, using a sophisticated voice modulator, maybe, potentially a different holographic mask to impersonate the ex-lover. So, my second theory that someone is using my ex-lover's appearance, this is starting to turn into more than just a theory. This is turning to more of a reality. So, the ex-lover's identity is being worn by someone else to lead me on a chase, while the real thief moves the samples somewhere else. That's what it's leaning towards. So, I'm going to say that the hypothesis goes up to a D8. But why use the ex-lover's identity? It's another question. Probably not the question we need to answer. We just got to figure out who's stealing these samples. I notice Cass's eyes, they dart towards the transmitter, like she's waiting for a cue. I'm going to say, because of that third success, I'm going to get an unexpected insight, because that is something that you can get. On a critical success, I notice like faint white powdery residue on Cass's jacket that she's wearing. I know that it's only used in these high-end hydroponic labs, though. And this wasn't from the club. It means whoever this Elena impersonator recently came from a lab environment. And it's possibly the one where the Wallace samples are being kept. So, okay. Cass obviously wants to go. I'm wondering what else I should ask her. Okay, so what I'm going to do next, I'm going to take the transmitter. I'm going to tell Cass to sit down for right now. I'm going to try to trace the signal. I'm not going to let the girl go until I'm done, though. So probably a tech roll. I'm going to say, because of that triple success in the last roll, it does give me advantage because I'm trying to pinpoint the physical location of this receiver, but it's likely where the Elena impersonator is monitoring the situation. So I'm going to roll tech as I try to interface with the with my handheld unit with the transmitter. Attempting to piggyback on the high frequency signal. Oof, that is no successes at all. I even rolled a 1. Okay. I'm going to push. I will lose resolve if I fail this push. Oh my god, let's go. Oh, wow. I'm down to 1 resolve. I can't push again. I literally can't. I'll be out of resolve. I only have 3. Oh, I'm unable to do it. So just to double check, when you're suffering stress in the game, your resolve rating will decrease. Most of the time, it can be restored by some downtime, but some resolve loss can be permanent. If it hits 0, your Blade Runner is no longer fit to serve and can react in drastic ways. Ooh. So when I'm broken by stress, I must roll 1 base die, corresponding with my empathy rating. If I roll a 1, 1 point is permanently lost. Wow. Baseline tests: when a replicant is broken by stress, and if this becomes known to their superiors, they're typically forced to take a baseline test. Oof. Signal is completely lost. I can hear the transmitter is in my hand. It emits this like hiss and goes cold, and the trace dies somewhere in the industrial zone, Sector 1, but I don't have a street address, only a general direction, which is not helpful. So I failed. I pushed the roll. Oh, that is unfortunate. Okay, so what can I do? I could talk to Cass again. I could try to get her like one last time with last bit of resolve. I'm getting stressed. I was hit. I was damaged. I could try to get her to remember a specific name or a vehicle description before I leave. She wants to get out of here. I'll do a question check. I'm going to say, did you see this regular question check? Did you see the vehicle of the person who gave you this job? Okay, so I'm going to roll a d10. Of course, the higher the better, but let's see. That's a 7. Okay, so that is a yes. Okay, so let's roll on the clue table. Let's see. I'm going to roll a d6. Okay, then a d10. And then another d10. Let's see what that pops up. It's a 1. So I got unexpected. It is in the wrong place or environment. That's the evidence descriptor. Okay, so I got unexpected, not supposed to be in the right place, but she did see something. Right? So she says she didn't have a spinner, but she was on foot. But she dropped something when she was fixing the light rig on me. And then we see Cass. She reaches into her pocket of the jacket, pulls out a key. Like a physical, heavy brass key. I mean, this is pretty. It's like an antique in this world, but okay. So that's where the wrong place comes in. For high-tech thief or like a Wallace grade operative, something like that. So in the head of the brass key is a logo. I see a stylized lotus flower with the number 402. So that's another clue. Okay, seems to be like a key to a locker or a room. Okay, so I'm thinking that this key is for room 402 at the Lotus Hotel, in the red light district in Sector 1. We're still currently in Sector 1, which is the entertainment district. So I step out of the private room. I have the brass key for room 402 secure in my pocket. I tell Cass to wait 5 minutes. I don't want to be seen leaving with her. I head back into the pulse of the club. It's well into nighttime now. I see Harley. He's still at the bar, but his back is to me. And by the time he turns his head, I'm already out the door, back into the cold rain of Sector 1. So I step into the street. The evening shift has concluded, and it is now the night shift, I believe. Now I'm walking out. I could go straight to the Lotus Hotel, but also I lost some health. My resolve is down to 1. And now that I'm in the night shift, I absolutely need to do downtime. So that is what I'm going to do now. Downtime. What I'm going to do is, you can stay out. I'm in the entertainment district, so I'm going to go to like a quiet jazz bar and just relax for the night for my downtime. So I'm still out in the streets, but I'm going to like a quieter place. I'm going to recover my health, relax the shoulder that got pummeled, and I'm going to automatically recover 1 resolve, and then I'll use the signature item as well. Her signature item is a large silver coin. So I'm just using that to help center myself mentally as I focus on it. Just twirling it between my fingers as I drink. I'm near the back of this quiet jazz bar. It's a darker corner. It has one candle in the middle of the table. Okay, so I'm going to roll on the Downtime event table, and I'm going to see what happens. And then there's also the countdown event table. So the solo rules have these tables, they say, to inspire the nature of downtime and the countdown event. To expand or clarify on these prompts, you can use the question checks or the cipher table. So, because whenever you go into a new location, you'll roll like the countdown event, or a new shift, something like that. So let's see what happens. First, I'm rolling on the downtime event table, so I'm going to roll a d12. So let's see. Okay, so that was an 11, and I'm in the street. Technically, I'm not at home. So you find yourself in an unfamiliar location, barely remembering the path that led you there. Okay. Sure. I mean, I get the jazz bar. I don't really come here. Makes sense. Okay, so let's roll for the countdown event table. And let's see if anything crazy happens during downtime. Gonna roll another d12. Okay, that's a 12. It's a threat. Okay. Cryptic message. Home or vehicle ransacked. Warned off the case. Ooh, oh, that is very fitting. Okay, so what happens is night shift is going to conclude, and then... Okay, so night shift is concluding. I return to my corporate hub, while my apartment by Wallace Corp. It's tiny. As the door slides open, the air in the apartment is a little cold, and I see that my living space, it has been ransacked. Files pulled from the walls. A few personal items are scattered across the floor, and carved into the surface of my kitchen terminal, I see this cryptic message. It says, "Some memories are better left buried, love. Don't dig too deep." So, not a robbery. Everything still looks the same, but of course it's in a mess. This was a professional entry, of course designed to warn me off the case. So whoever I'm hunting knows where I live. So, gotta be careful. So, we will head into day 2, and it will be shift 1. It's hard to sleep, really. I spent a lot of the hours cleaning up the wreckage and recalibrating. And soon enough, it's dawn. I stand in the red light district in front of the Lotus Hotel. You can see the morning smog is thick, and the brass key for room 402 is in my pocket. So, morning shift has begun. I'm back to 8 health, back to 3 resolve. And so, let's do this. Okay, so we are outside of the Lotus Hotel. Now, it is a new shift. It's a new time, so I do need to roll the die, the countdown die. So I think we start over. I think I'm back at D6. So let's see how it goes. So I have the D6 right here. So if I roll a 6, it's a success, and that means that there is a countdown. So let's do that. It's rolling. That's a 2. Nice. Okay. No event. Whew. So, no complication, no threat triggers. So I can roll a scene check. I can roll a D8 and see the table and try to determine the atmosphere, the difficulty of the hotel. I think that could be interesting, so let's do that. Let's make a scene check. So let's roll that D8. Okay, that's a 5. 5 means it's a challenging, okay? So it does require 1 or more skill rolls to proceed. So they give examples, the witness is reluctant, or the crime scene is a mess, and requires a careful and lengthy search, or finding the data you seek can be done remotely but requires a tech roll. So there's stuff like that. So, okay, so what I'm going to say is I make my way into the hotel, and I see this large, gruff man who sees behind the counter as I walk into the lobby area, and it looks pretty vintage in here. It's not the best, it's not a 5-star hotel to say the least. As I make my way in there, there is a guy, and he has like heavy cybernetic optics I can see, and he's staring at my Wallace issue coat with clear hostility in his eyes. And I can see one hand is under the counter, and I know that there's a silent alarm that he can push. He seems more like a gatekeeper rather than just a regular clerk. You know how they are when people are making or doing illicit activities near and far. So I think to get to the 4th floor, we got to get to room 402. We're gonna have to deal with him. So, little lobby obstacle to reach room 402. What is happening? I feel like this is the climax. So, I could use manipulation. I could bluff my way past. I don't want to deal with him, at least not right now. Claim I'm here on official Wallace business that he doesn't want to interfere with. Could use tech to bypass the elevator's lock. Or I can do combat and shoot him. Let's do manipulation first. Combat can get deadly in this game quickly, and I can lose resolve quickly, but so that's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna use manipulation. I'm gonna try to bluff my way past. I make my way, and I already know his face. I can see the hostility, and I say, listen, it's been a long morning for me. You clearly don't want me here, and I want to get out of here as soon as possible. I'm here on official Wallace business, okay? Trust me when I say you don't want to interfere. Just buzz me in to the elevator, and I'll be in and out before you can blink, okay? So let's roll manipulation and see. Oh, that's 3 and a 5. That's no successes. I could push. That's what I'll do. Oh, still no successes. Okay. I am a replicant, though, so I can push a roll twice. Humans can only push a skill roll once. And I will suffer stress if I roll any ones, but I haven't rolled any ones, so let's do this. One more time. I can push one more time. Oh, yes. That's 1 success. Wow. Okay. So with that single success, his posture shifts a little bit. Less aggressive, more like tired and weary. He looks at my coat, he looks at the silent alarm button, and then finally back at my face. And then he just taps the sequence on his console, and then the lock on the lift disengages. And he says, 4th floor is yours, detective. Just don't bring the noise back down with you. And I just give him a little nod. I ride the lift up. Rattles as it passes the other floors of the hotel, and then the door hisses open, and I find myself in a narrow, dimly lit hallway. Carpet is stained, unidentifiable fluids. The air smells like old grease. And I continue to walk. I'm on the 4th floor. I make my way to room 402. I pull the heavy brass key from my pocket and slide it into the lock, and it turns with a satisfying click, and I push the door open. Now, it's a small room, like a capsule room in the center. Sitting at the desk, cluttered with high-end Wallace tech and open samples, is the figure I've been tracking. And they're looking at a holographic display of the stolen data. And they turn towards me, and the light from the terminal illuminates their face in the morning. Who is it? Let's determine the final reveal. Who could it be? Let's roll one last clue to see how this case all wraps up. Okay, So as usual, I will roll on the meaning table. Also, I have 4 key NPCs, so I think what I'm going to do is use one of them. I created 4, might as well. Okay, so I made all the rolls. I did physical rolls a little bit quicker than waiting on the digital dice. And I got some interesting information. I rolled a 3 on the meaning table, and it was affirms a previous fact or clue. I also rolled that the evidence descriptor is contradictory and that it is purposely concealed, and that the evidence type is a book or a magazine. And what makes the most sense? After we put it all together, the data pad, it illuminates, and we see Constance Meyer. She isn't just hiding, she is working here, and this room smells of perlite. It's what I found earlier, and a small portable incubator hums on the bedside table, and I can see it's clearly housing the stolen Wallace samples. And she sees me. She doesn't flee, she doesn't run. She looks at me, defensive gaze, her hands hovering over a stack of physical media. And I make my way in. Before I speak, scattered on the bed, several magazines, journal, and they're just filled with sticky notes and highlighted passages. They contain the script for the ex-lover impersonator, all the details of her life. Her favorite perfume, speech patterns, fashion sense were all purposely concealed within these pages to train the decoys that we've encountered. And it affirms a previous fact, my second hypothesis. The Elena you've been chasing, I've been chasing, by the way, Elena is the name of the ex-lover, is manufactured. This was all fake. It's seeming that it's not the ex-lover. So she didn't distill the samples, she stole a persona to keep me distracted. And maybe even a little emotionally compromised. So she sneers, she starts to clutch the stuff to her chest. She says, "You were never supposed to find this place, love." Yeah, well, I guess I'm too good at my job. So, we've reached the end of the line. I'm going to pull out my gun. I'm not going to raise it at her, but I'm going to let her know. "Constance, you're under arrest for stolen property belonging to the Wallace Corporation. Now slowly walk towards me. Put your hands behind your head. Please don't make this harder than it needs to be. It's not worth it." And now I'm going to roll. There's a table to see her traits or their attitude. So I'm going to do that. So let's see. Her attitude is high strung. Ooh, interesting. I see her eyes, they dart towards the open the data pad and the biosamples. Her fingers twitch a little bit along the spine of the journal. The air is charged in this room. She lets out a laugh. She says, "Under arrest? By you, love? You're just another piece of hardware they're going to scrap once this is over." Wow, okay. Does he think you're special? Because they gave you a name? You're just a placeholder. Now, I also want to see if she's I want to see if she is a replicant or a human. I'm going to roll a d10. On a 1, she's a replicant. On a 2 to 9, she's human. So it's a low chance she's a replicant, but I'm just going to roll. I rolled a 2. She's human. And despite her words, she's visibly trembling, and she knows that she's backed into a corner. She's unpredictable. So she might lash out. Let's do manipulation. I could do force, but I'm gonna roll a manipulation to see how it goes. I told her, "Listen, I raised the gun. Please don't make me do this." As I raise my gun, I'm going to roll and see how it goes. Manipulation, here we go. Ooh, okay. I got one success. I'll take it. One success, and I also rolled a 1, but that doesn't mean anything on that first roll. As my gun is raised, I can see her eyes lock on to the PKD, and as soon as she sees the gun, like that high energy, like vanishes, and she realizes like she's facing a machine built for efficiency. Her hands shake a little bit, and she slowly lifts them, and then she interlocks her fingers behind her head. She says, you can hear her whisper, she says, fine. It was never really about the samples anyway. And I move in and I secure her with some restraints. I have I have like all the stuff, the portable incubator, everything that she has in here is now in my possession. So stolen property is recovered. And now, I mean, it's all pointing to her. So that this hypothesis is, I would say, at a D10 because you can raise it by how confident you are. So this one would go, my second hypothesis would actually raise to a D10. It was at a D8. Okay, so it's time for the final hypothesis check. Eventually, your investigation leads to a dramatic moment in which you test a theory by making a hypothesis check. Does the hypothesis prove out, or are you just another pawn in a game of corruption and conspiracy, manipulated and led astray? The hypothesis check might trigger as your character confronts a suspect, verifies a key piece of evidence, or a sudden event or realization is laid bare. So, I think this is the time. This is the check should come at a moment when the investigation story or the likelihood has converged. So, does it feel right, inevitable? If so, make the check. So, I think it does. So, we're going to make that hypothesis check. With the skill roll, rolling the success, which is a 6 or more, is a success. However, these rolls can now be pushed. So, okay. We built up this case. Okay, so this is it. So they resolve the roll as follows. If the check marks the end of the case, take the listed promotion point, reward, or penalty. There's a few things that happen, but it's based on what we roll. So I'm going to roll that D10 and see how we close the file. Ooh, okay, this is the final roll. Let's go. Oh, it's a 5. Wow. Oh my gosh. So, with a 5, I lose 3 promotion points. The hypothesis is off the mark. You were mistaken, duped, or betrayed. Decide if this brings an ugly end to the case with a dramatic revelation, or if you press on with a new hypothesis. Either way, consider the repercussions on your character and their reputation. What did you have at stake? What will you do to set things right? So I think what happens is this. I'm holding not Elena. I'm holding Constance, and I'm waiting for the other police to arrive. And they eventually do, and we're waiting in the room. She's in the room waiting, and I tell them to hold her as I'm packing everything up. And I'm looking at the display screen. I just want to make sure everything is fine before because if anything's wrong and she's not here, she could have told me how to fix something, because obviously she has a hand in this. So the cops are holding her, and I look at the digital confirmation on the display, and I'm typing everything in, it should turn green. Instead, I see a flickering error message. I look through the portable incubator, and the samples are fake. These aren't the Wallace prototypes at all. They're counterfeit. Expensive decoys. And I look up at Constance, and she can hear the error message play. But her head is down, and she doesn't look up, and she says, I told you, love. You're a placeholder. I'm just a scientist who stayed behind to keep the hunter busy. The person you're looking for? She's already at the spaceport. She didn't need a script to play Elena, because she is Elena. And then my eyes go wide, and I say, take her to LAPD, now! I continue to run, make my way to my spinner, and fly top speed over to LAX. And that is where we are going to end this case. It definitely could lead to more. This definitely could lead to another case. Like, this case isn't finished. Like, it could lead to more play sessions, of course, and like a new case file and things like that. That would be really interesting. But yeah, this is a good place to end it. Betrayal. I wasn't just duped by Constance. I was betrayed by my own logic. The hypothesis too. The idea of a total imposter. That was the final trap, and I fell into it. It convinced me that the ex-lover was not capable of this, but of course they were. Captured a mid-level scientist and a suitcase full of glowing water. Oh my god, I'm just thinking about her reputation. Like, Wallace, like, so much is riding on this, and Wallace is going to be disappointed 100%. And I guess that line is true. I was told before, some ghosts aren't meant to be caught. So that is where we're going to end it. My final thoughts. I had a lot of fun with Blade Runner in solo mode. I think it gives you really, really a good amount of tables to work with. If you're stuck, you can make question checks, and then there's the countdown event tables that just add some spice and some variety and some complications. And I think it does a good job of, replacing the GM's job, and that's what I look for in the solo rules. Like, how well can you become that GM emulator? And so there's lots of tables that you can rely on, which I appreciate. If you ever get stuck, there's the yes/no oracles that you can roll on, and then you can also just use the core book. The core book has a lot of tables, and it will say go to the core book, page 247, for example, and you can create different NPCs and different locations and things like that. And I appreciate that. So I would say these are solid solo rules, and they're supplemental for sure. And I think that's a good word. It's very much an add-on. You very much still do need the core rulebook to play this, and I had a good time. So this one gets my stamp of approval for solo mode, and I'm excited to test out whatever's next. A little hint, I am going to be testing out Dolmenwood solo. I already have some things planned, and the tools that I'm going to use, there aren't official solo rules for it, but there are a lot of just generic solo supplements. And also it's OSR game, so old school Renaissance and things like that. So Dolmenwood already has so many tables and a hex map and exploration procedures that you can follow. So we'll see how well it does solo, because it doesn't have official solo rules. So let's see if we can bring in some solo rules from other resources and see how well it does. So that's a little sneak peek of what is next. But as for Blade Runner and the solo mode rules, really, really good stuff. Highly recommend it. So thanks for listening along if you did. And if you were on the fence, or if you thought about trying this game, or you didn't think about it and you just got inspired and you like this world and cyberpunk and neon noir, I would say give it a try.